back to another segment of burnt coverage, extra burnt because we are extra toasty right now. I'm your host, Joel.
And I'm Curtis.
And this is your defenses. Do we do defense and kicker in one segment?
We do, yeah.
This is defense and kickers.
This is only our 9th week. We haven't really figured it out yet.
This is the irrelevant segment. That's not true. Defense are very relevant.
Please watch.
So, week 9, who do you like?
I like the Falcons over the 49ers. And this is why. Falcons are 3,400 in DraftKings and 4,900 in FanDuel. Joel's looking at my notes. I have none. But the only notes I need, or everything I know, is that the Falcons this week are playing Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert is the worst starting quarterback of the week. And yes, Johnny Manziel is starting this week. As we know, the whole 49ers team has been in flux. After their best players were injured or deemed irrelevant or traded, they decided to pack it in and hope that maybe next year the good light of the Lord will shine on them and give them the #1 draft pick, whoever that may be. However, they still have to play football this year, and they're playing a rejuvenated Falcons defense, who a lot of people didn't have a lot of hope in, but they've actually performed well. They're at top 10 against the run this year. Because their offense has been committed to the run, it's actually given their defense a little bit of time to recover. Usually the Falcons defense has been a spread, or with Roddy White when he was healthy in the past, and Julio Jones all world. They've been throwing the ball a lot. So it's actually given their defense a little bit more time to recover. Really all you need to know about this is that we have Blaine Gabbert as the starting quarterback. We have Pierre Thomas as the starting running back. We have Garrett Selleck, the great player that he is, but he's the starting tight end this week. We have no Anquan Bolden, so we're starting Torrey Smith and another wide receiver here. Could be, God, I don't even know who they're gonna play. It's just a terrible situation offensively. You have no real weapons. Somebody will do something, but it won't be much. The Falcons have a lot to play for right now. The Panthers are running away with the division. They still do play the Panthers twice at the end of the year, but that doesn't mean anything if they can't win games against subpar teams such as the Saints and the Bucks, which they lost to already this year, and they're in division, so that hurts too. The Falcons have a lot to play for. They're going to come out strong. They're going to come out big offense, big defense, fired up, on the road. Usually not a great road team, but this week against a terrible quarterback who's never proven anything in the NFL, I think they're a really good play. They are on the higher end at 3,400, or 3,400, 4,900, which is a little scary, but there's not a ton of great low-end defensive plays, I don't think, this week, so I think the Falcons are a pretty safe choice.
I don't know. I really think that the Niners make this a competitive game, but anyway. My choice.
Whoa. You think they're going to score like 40 points or something? 20 points?
I think it's a competitive game.
I mean, based on what? Their defense is
on
hard.
The fact that I think Atlanta overlooks them.
So you think? Well, I would say that if they just blew out the Bucks, which they did.
No, but they know that this team just dismantled their entire franchise. Benched their starting quarterback, their $100 million quarterback, traded their starting tight end, just signed a running back. So is Atlanta game planning for San Fran, or is Atlanta game planning for whoever they play next week?
Who's going to score anything on Atlanta? Yeah, come on. It's not going to happen.
All right.
It's not going to happen. So
anyway,
you're saying Falcons no good?
No, it's an okay play, but I think it's more competitive than you are leading our audience to believe.
We'll see. I hope you don't watch that game, but if you do, you'll find out.
I'll text everybody about it. So my first defensive choice this week is going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. Not the best defense in the NFL, but probably the second best defense in the NFL. That is the St. Louis Rams going against the Minnesota Vikings. So St. Louis has given up a total of 12 points in the last 2 games. Quick math, that's 6 points a game. They're averaging 4 sacks, 1 interception, and 1 fumble recovery a game the entire season. AP is always a threat, but he doesn't really scare me this week because he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 4, and the Rams have actually only allowed 3 rushing touchdowns all season. The Rams are very stout up front, and they're actually ranked 10th against the pass as well. So the whole Stefon Diggs show will have to live to dig another day. Price is $5,100 on the duel, $3,500 on DraftKings. A higher end price defense, but like Curtis said, with all the teams on the bye, there's not really a lot of great options for lower defenses, which is typically where we try to save some money. But this is one of the weeks where you have to pay for the money just to get the result that you need to stay competitive. So
the Rams, top 5 defense, surefire.
Top 3.
Well, surefire top 5. All right, I'm agreeing with you.
I'm just saying.
Hang on. This is not the Browns or the 49ers, though, and teams that the Rams have played and have scored a ton of points for you in fantasy. This is a pretty decent Vikings team. They have a solid quarterback in Bridgewater, who is finding his sea legs with Stefon Diggs. They still have Mike Wallace wherever he is, and Charles Johnson. I know those aren't the best quality targets, but Bridgewater has done well. And then yes, AP is still there, and even if you don't think AP is going to have a huge game, he's still going to be productive. He's still going to get the ball a ton. So this is probably one of the shakier defensive plays. I might have swung on the other team in this matchup. But yeah, nothing against the Rams season long. I don't think the Rams are going to lose you your fantasy week, but I think this is just your safe play defense. And you never know with AP how he's going to come out. If I saw an interview with AP talking about Gurley, he really respects Gurley. He thinks he's a great running back, which he is. And maybe AP wants to prove something against Gurley and show that he's still the boss in this league. Even that being said, and everything I've said, I don't see this to be a high-scoring game. But the Vikings don't make a lot of mistakes, so I don't see a ton of turnovers, which is really what the Rams have been scoring on and giving you the most points for in your fantasy leagues.
No, but they do get to the quarterback quite a bit. And Bridgewater, while he's a good game manager, I don't think he can win you a game. He has the ability to not lose you a game. I think it's the best thing you can say about Teddy Bridgewater. And in the pre-show meeting, I said I could talk about either defense, the Rams or the Vikings, because I think they're both very good defenses. But at the end of the day, Todd Gurley scares me more than Adrian Peterson does at this point in their careers, and especially with their recent track record, and recent track record being the last month. I know it's not a huge sample size, but Todd Gurley is hands down, I don't think anyone can debate, the best running back in the league, and AP is probably number 2, but I think there's a big gap between 1 and 2. So I would rather take the defense facing the 30-year-old running back as opposed to the 22-year-old running back.
If I did want to support this, and I don't, but if I did want to support this, I would look back to that Broncos-Vikings game where you have maybe the best defense in the league, if that's where you were going with your number 1. And Bridgewater had a good game. AP had a good game. However, Aqib Talib picked 6 Bridgewater and to basically win that game. So you're hoping for something like that from the Rams. They don't really have a Talib. They're more based on their line. They have solid corner play, but really their line is their strength. So we'll see. I mean, it's not a bad play, but it's not a huge upside play either.
No, but they are cheaper than Atlanta. No, they're not. Never mind.
All right. Well, there we are. Thank you, Joel. And this is what I've been waiting all week to do, and I was really crossing my fingers and hoping that my on-the-couch counterpart wouldn't pick this defense, and I would pick them, and he would have to argue against them somehow, or at least explain to America why he did not pick this defense. And this defense is the pride of Philadelphia, the Eagles. They are only 2,700 in DraftKings, a cheap defense, and 4,700 in FanDuel. We've seen the Eagles put up points. pick sixes. They can get to the quarterback. They have Sproles returning kicks. This is a defense that actually has done some damage in the league, and I'm no Eagles fan, but I have seen them put up points against mediocre defenses or mediocre offenses. Of course, the Jets game looms in my mind. The Jets were a heralded team early in the year, but they fell off the rails against the Eagles. The Eagles didn't have their star player DeMarco Murray that week. I know Ryan Matthews stepped in. But the Eagles have actually played a pretty good defense. They played decently well first week against the Falcons, which are a good offense. They've held their own. And this week, they're playing Dallas in Dallas. And maybe Joel's just a little afraid that Dallas is going to do well since they have Dez Bryant back. And I know Joel kind of pisses himself whenever he sees Dez Bryant lined up against the other side against him. Or maybe he's a little afraid of Run DMC just doing a number on that mid-range rushing defense. But I really see the Eagles defense coming out to shine. I don't know how they did last week. How they do last week?
We did awesome. We didn't lose.
Yes, you're on a bye, and so teams off byes usually have an extra week to prepare, especially if they're going to play, as Joel says, your nemesis. So they've probably been studying the Cowboys quite a bit. Of course, the Cowboys still don't have Tony Romo. They have the interception machine known as Matt Castle, and so I think the Eagles are a fantastic play for a very low price. Joel, tell me why I'm wrong.
The Philadelphia defense is very unheralded. They've actually been carrying the team thus far, while the offense gets their kinks worked out. And I think I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think they average actually on both sides over 10 points a game, defensive-wise. But that's because they're very strong. Their special teams play has been very strong. They're very opportunistic defense. It reminds me a lot of the Patriots in 2008, I think. And they create turnovers when they need them, when their backs are against the wall, and that's what the secondary has done. The only positive thing about the defense this week I can say is that they are getting their entire linebacking crew back, their interior linebacking crew back, in Kiko Alonso, Michael Kendricks, D'Amico Ryans. But yes, Dez Bryant scares me. Dez Bryant is one of the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL. Last week was his first game back, but I think they were easing him back into it, and easing him back into it meant 6 targets. And so I think they were game planning him and just wanting him healthy for this. So I think it's going to be a healthy dose of Dez Bryant, and I just worry. I don't know how Philadelphia is going to cover Dez.
I think what you're saying is Byron Maxwell is just awful. Is that what I'm getting from this?
Those words never came out of my mouth
I
on
feel
camera.
like...
On camera, those words never came out of my mouth.
It kind of came out of your mouth because you raved a lot about the Eagles, and then you said Dez Bryant.
Malcolm Jenkins is one of the best safeties in the NFL. But Dez Bryant he is a dominant receiver, so he can get his catches and his yards regardless of who's covering him.
Or throwing to him?
See, I don't know, and that's what we're going to find out. That's why I'm shying away from this play, just because I don't know what that connection between the quarterback and the wide receiver is going to be. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. It'll be interesting, but I don't know if it's going to be a 17-14 game or a 45-40, 38 game. So, yeah. No, I'm not playing the Eagles this week.
I don't know. I'll be wearing Kelly Green Sunday night.
I'll be rooting for him.
See that defense bring the championship.
But the Philadelphia Eagles defense will not be in any of my lineups.
Wow. Rough. I hope all of Joel's family and friends back in Philadelphia heard him say that.
My family and friends don't watch this.
That's probably the best.
Yeah, but, well... We need to win. So, to break things up, I'm going to go to the sunny skies of Denver. The Denver Broncos defense playing, actually they're not in Denver, they're in the Dome of Indianapolis. The Denver Broncos are, as you've heard and as you've seen, the best defense in the NFL. and they are on a historical pace for fantasy purposes. They are on pace to break the record of the 2006 Baltimore Ravens team, which is, in a lot of people's opinions, one of the best defenses in the history of the NFL. And they are on pace to outscore them by 20 points in fantasy. And this is a team that just held Aaron Rodgers to 77, you did not hear that incorrectly, 77 yards passing in the blowouts that we just saw last week. And they actually had their lowest sack total of the year last week when they only sacked Aaron Rodgers 3 times. 3 sacks was their lowest sack total of the year. And that was actually their first game without a fumble recovery as well. And so now they're going up against an Indianapolis team that is not living up to expectations. Andrew Luck might be hurt, might still be hurt, might have injuries that we don't know about. That is something that we are not privy to, and we probably won't be privy to until after the season. They've just fired Pep Hamilton, their offensive coordinator, and they brought in, who did they bring in?
Some other guy.
The other guy, the tight end coach, but whatever. So T.Y. Hilton is hobbled, Frank Gore is human, Ahmed Bradshaw's on the team. I don't know what that means. Andre Johnson is old. So nobody on this team scares me, and Denver Broncos are licking their chops. They're undefeated, and they were going to continue this streak because a Denver-New England AFC Championship game is on the horizon.
I can see a win one for the Gipper thing here. Is like Peyton's back in Indy, and like we want to be the ones that win it for him. We didn't win it for him last time when we were here. Denver is the best defense in the league, and no offense to the Rams or Panthers of the world, you're playing well, but Denver is single-handedly, not single-handedly, but they are really they single-handedly brought this team to an undefeated mark.
Yes.
Peyton has shown flashes. The rushing offense was terrible until they finally got Hillman in. C.J. Anderson actually last week finally showed something just when he realized that he was in danger of maybe getting traded this week. It's like, maybe I'll do something. But the Colts aren't good against the run, and the run game's still there. Peyton's Peyton. No matter who you're playing, they're not good against the pass either.
And they're a little expensive on FanDuel. They're going for $5,300, but they're dirt cheap on DraftKings, going for $3,000 on DraftKings,
which is under the Vikings.
Yeah.
If you want to speculative play, under it's $400 in the Falcons if you wanted to get off that ship.
Yeah, it's just dirt cheap for DraftKings, and it's just another instance of DraftKings like missing the boat on their rankings.
And it's not gonna be. The offense is terrible. Luck only woke up in that Panthers game this week when the game was on the line. Does he want to prove that he's the Indy quarterback? Sure. And maybe in another year when he's healthy, he might be able to do that. Unfortunately, he's hobbled. We're finding out things, like Joel said, maybe there's more we know about. We just found out about his fractured ribs last week. He's a competitor, and nothing against Luck, but he's just not 100%.
And yeah, the ego thing is going to have to be completely removed because Indy needs a win at this point more than anything. Like they just have to try to scrounge out a win, whereas it can be a complete pride thing for Denver and Peyton.
Sadly, the AFC South could be the NFC South of last year, where a team that's like 8-8, 7-9 can win the division. This is what it's looking like. It'll probably still be the Colts, but whoever wins that division isn't going to be in the playoffs for long. I know the Panthers won a playoff game last year, but they had a Ryan Lidley led Cardinals to play. Broncos. I can't argue against it. It is on the road, so it's a little more difficult. But I don't think the Colts are going to get back on track against one of the best defenses we've seen, in 20 years.
Historically good.
Outside of the Ravens and the Bucks in the last 20 years.
Yeah, the only if there was fantasy in '85, the Bears would be the highest scoring defense of all time. In
so that's 30 years.
Yeah. And then I think it was like the '84 the '84 Seahawks as well were number 2 on the list, and then the 2015 Broncos are on pace to come in 3rd all-time fantasy points.
So they have players in every part of the secondary.
Von Miller,
Akeem Tilly, linebackers, and actually a lot of players who you wouldn't expect have made a lot of contributions too. I think earlier in the season I remember something where they had more players with fumble recovery. Like they had like 7 or 8 players with a fumble recovery or interception. So everybody's really just pitching in. Yeah, and if T.Y.'s hindered, I mean, he's going to play Talib anyway. That was their only deep threat.
And the safety they brought in from Cleveland in the offseason. I forget his name, but he's playing really well.
Yeah, if you get a high floor, high ceiling play, like this might be it this week.
Yeah, especially on the DraftKings when they are dirt cheap at $3,000. Like play that all day long.
Kicker, Joel?
Well, unfortunately, the official kicker of Burnt Coverage has once again priced himself out of our neighborhood for probably be another 1-week hiatus, and he'll go 3 for 3 on Monday nights and then drop down into our neighborhood again. That is none other than Josh Lambo. He is unfortunately $4,700 this week, so we will not recommend him. But we will recommend
Seabass.
Sea-fucking-bass.
Love him. Big leg, been in the league for a long time, 1st round draft pick, has the longest kick in NFL history, and he's going to be in a game against the Steelers where we think there'll be a lot of points. So why not play Seabass this week? It's fun when you see a 300-pound kicker go out there and try to win your week for you. So
somebody's got a bigger gut than we do.
Yeah, and that's saying something.
And also, I think Robbie Gould's dirt cheap as well. I don't think he's a terrible play either.
Yeah, and Boswell on the other side of the Steelers thing, if you think the Steelers. But whatever, they're all 4,500.
Yeah, don't spend more than $45 on a kicker.
Kick his ass, Seabass! I've been wanting to say that all week. All right, and that was our segment of Burnt Coverage, Defense, and Kickers. I'm Curtis.
And I'm Joel.
We hope to see you next week when we're going to be winning tons of money, and I'll take all of Joel's money on all these random bets we've been making.
And the new Table of Fame. Derek Carr.
Oh,
Table of Fame.
Derek Carr is now on the Table of Fame.
Rookie card on the Table of Fame.
I'm going to find some thrift store cards too and throw them out there. I think I have a Vinny Testaverde around here somewhere. Alright, see you next week.
On the couch. Good luck.